Alright guys, welcome back to part 2 of this vlog series. And in this one, what I'm going to be talking about is what is the difference between an MPO, a TRO, and maybe you need one or the other, and sometimes you need both. And if you are just landing on this video and you're still trying to make an assessment about whether or not you need an order of protection, please click right here and this will take you to the video that I just filmed, which addresses some of the resources that you can use to make that determination. All right, but into what we're doing today. Okay, so an MPO is a military protective order, okay? And a TRO is a temporary restraining order, also known as a civilian protective order. Okay, let's just dive right in. MPO, military protective order. Where does this keep you safe? On a military base, and that's pretty much it. An MPO is designed to keep things on a base. What happens is now to qualify for an MPO, by the way, obviously it has to be against an active duty service member. You have to be a spouse or former spouse, a intimate partner or former intimate partner, and then number 3 kind of goes with number 2, which is that you must have a child in common with the active duty service member. So if you fall into one of those categories, and you want to handle it on the base, you go for an MPO, okay? An MPO, what happens is you would go into either your Fleet and Family Services office or on some bases a JAG office, which is the Judge Advocate General. Now, because there are, so many different military bases, I can't give you all the resources. All you do is you Google whatever the name of the base where you're stationed. Let's say I used to be stationed Warner Robins Air Force Base, okay? You would put Warner Robins Air Force Base, Fleet and Family Services, or Warner Robins Air Force Base, JAG office, okay? Get somebody there on the phone, you explain that you want to file for an MPO, and they will tell you where you need to go, all right? Don't give your name to whoever you talk to. You are not compelled or required in any way to do that, so do not do that. All right, now, an MPO, when you file it, you have 2 choices. They're going to ask you what is the kind of abuse that you're filing for, okay? Now, if you're filing for child abuse of any kind, they cannot restrict that. They have to report that to the state, and that's just the way that that goes, okay? But if you are, let's say that you are married to a service member, you're not ready to leave for whatever the reasons are, but you want documentation that this has been happening or that this is going on, but you don't want to make your move yet, and you certainly do not want to upset this person, okay? You walk in, you make the report, and you ask to have it restricted, okay? And so what happens is it just goes in a file. Their commander is not made aware of it. Nobody knows anything about it. But when you do finally have the strength to leave this person, you have formally documented this abuse, okay? That is an option. If you're just not ready to leave yet, that is an option, something that you should take advantage of. I did not know about that, or trust me, I would have taken advantage of it. But I didn't know, and that's why I'm telling you. Go in, you make the report, there's no charge to do that, all right? Here's what's supposed to happen. You file the report, it has to be the active duty service member's commanding officer, usually gets a phone call from whoever you're speaking to, and this person, usually it's called a FAP officer, will make a recommendation to the commander and say, yes, we need to issue a military protective order. Okay, so what's supposed to happen from there is that service member is supposed to surrender their firearm. They are supposed to stay away from you, stay away from whoever you listed in the order of protection. They're not supposed to contact you, go near your home. They are or will be offered base housing. So let's say that you lived on the base together, or even you lived off in town together and you thought, oh, I don't want he or she to be without a place to live. The military is responsible for making sure that that person has housing on the base, in the barracks. I have a little note card here so I don't forget. Ooh, okay, I just flew away. They are supposed to assign you a victim's advocate, which is someone that will help you go through the process of, maybe getting a lawyer or working with JAG, because what's going to happen from there is you have this protection order, they do an investigation, and then there's a panel that meets and they make a decision about whether or not they think that this person has, done something that requires either a continued protective order or some kind of military punishment. Now, the military has its own rules and its own set of laws that it operates under on any military installation. It is called the UCMJ. That is the Uniformed Code of Military Justice. So they have their own set of rules. Okay, so they can handle it on the base. So that might be an option that you want to do. That was the option that I chose to do in the beginning because I was operating under the assumption, of course, given that I had poured so many years of my life into supporting my then husband's career, that they would be appalled at what was happening and that they would, of course, protect my children and I from this person. Let me just say, and this is not about slamming the military. I come from a military family, okay? And those military service members, former and active, were and are appalled at the way that this was handled at this military base, okay? I am not making a unilateral statement about the military and how they handle these kinds of things. I am telling you what I can only tell you, which is my experience, okay? What happened in my case on a base in the state of Louisiana, and there are moments where you think, oh, I want to say these people's names, the commander, but why? Not everybody that's an officer is a gentleman, okay? They couldn't have acted more inappropriately if they tried. In my particular instance, so I just told you what's supposed to happen. In my particular instance, what happened was I gave a report. The commanding officer decided to allow that protective order to expire only, I think it was like 2 days later, forcing me to go and secure a civilian protective order because of the situation that I was in with DCFS and the kids. And you can watch my vlog. I think it's called My Divorce, What Really Happened, if you want more details about that. So he issued the protective order, which of course upset this individual. Then he allows it to lapse, which leaves us completely exposed to someone who is clearly not happy. No investigation before that order was lapsed, which is the protocol, okay? When they did their investigation, they basically looked the other way. I mean, whatever. It's okay. You can do these kinds of things to your family. Wow. I mean, and again, more in vlogs to come. And again, not about trashing the military. Just trying to shed some light on the reality of what it is when you choose to leave a service member. It is so different than you think it will be. You think that you have this protection. Maybe you will. I didn't. And hundreds, and I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of people that have come to me or that I have been put in contact with over the last 2 years said, oh yeah. I mean, I'm talking cops, lawyers, judges, okay? Commander. Oh yeah, that's standard operating procedure. What happened to you? Yeah, that's pretty much what they do. It's an old boys club. They do what they want to do. That's what you do if you want a military protective order. But let me say that the minute you walk off that military base, you have no protection. Now, they are supposed to have a reciprocal agreement in place with local law enforcement whereby they are allowed to enforce said order off the base, but that doesn't mean that it has to happen. Now let's get on to the other one. TRO, temporary restraining order, order of protection, protective order. Every state has its own unique way that it may call it. First, let's talk about what you need to do. To file a TRO, you need to walk into your local courthouse and tell them, I need to file for a temporary restraining order. You will fill out a piece of paper. They will ask you some questions. They will take what you've given to them, give it to the judge. The judge will either order or deny, right pretty much then and there, the order. And then 14 days later, you will be asked to come into court for a hearing, at which time you will have to stand in front of this individual, which is terrifying, I will admit that, and in an open courtroom, say these things that have happened and why you feel that you need this order. TROs, civilian protective order, whatever you want to call it, is good everywhere, except for on the military base. Now, they can enforce it on the military base, but again, they have their own set of rules on site. When you're inside of a military base, like, they just do their own thing. It is their own program they are operating under. TRO protects you in all states, in every state in the United States. So if you get it in Louisiana, doesn't matter. It's good wherever you go. Here's why I think it's, now obviously, if the person that we're talking about here is not an active duty service member, you know, we're not talking about an MPO. You just go straight and you get the TRO. And sometimes, again, you're going to need both, because if the MPO, if they do to you what they did to my family, and they basically don't do anything about it, well, you're going to be forced to get this for sure. So that's when you need both. I did, unfortunately. I think that it's a fair statement to say that whether or not someone is an active duty service member, whether they're enlisted officer, man or woman, that they should not enjoy the protection of the military when they do not act honorably. If you do not act honorably as a service member, you should have to stand in a courtroom like everyone else and be subject to the laws of your local jurisdiction. And that is why I would recommend getting a TRO, because if you really want to be protected, you probably do need a TRO. Because let me tell you that inside of a civilian courtroom, a judge does not care one bit about the fact that the person that you are afraid of is a service member. They don't care. It's a civilian, and they handle it as such. I think that's appropriate. And if you are having to get an order of protection, I think it's fair to say that they were not behaving appropriately, that they were engaged in conduct unbecoming. An officer, enlisted, whatever. Now, it's a free country, guys. I am sure that there will be people that will say, oh my God, you're saying all these terrible things about the military. No. If you want to go back and play what I said, I didn't say anything terrible about the military. This is not an opinion. This is a statement of fact. These are well-documented things that happened. And because the military did not follow the protocol and did not do what they were supposed to do, they turned my particular situation into a much more dramatic, much longer process than it probably had to be. MPO, TRO, both, it's up to you. I think at the end of the day, it probably depends on how serious you are. If you are just at a place where you are finally getting tired of being abused, whatever the kind is, maybe you go in and you file for the MPO, but you ask for the information to be restricted. Maybe that's step one for you. And then maybe down the road, you give the military a chance to conduct themselves properly. And you say, okay, I want you guys to issue the MPO. And you let them do their investigation. And then maybe you have the same experience that I had and a lot of other people have had, where the military basically rallies around the service member and hell with you and your family. You're not their problem anymore. Then I think you need a TRO. Because trust me when I tell you that the local court system does not feel that way about it. And that's it. I hope it's a hard subject to talk about without becoming a little bit angry or upset. I think I'm done with my, I don't think you're ever done. It was very emotional, the vlog I shot the other day about my divorce and what happened. And when I talk about this TRO, if I seem angry, it's because I just feel like it was handled so poorly and in such a dangerous way. And I just think it was completely unnecessary. And I feel that a lot of military spouses, girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands, whatever, you kind of go into it thinking that you will, you abandon everyone that you know and you move to support the service member and you live there, usually nowhere near your family or friends. and then you're being abused, and then when you finally have had enough or something happens that causes you to have to remove yourself from the situation, of course you believe that you will be protected, because that is the story that we are told when we marry into the military. And I hope, and I'm going to be honest with you, I would love, please, if you were in that situation and the military really did step up, please leave it in the comments below, because it breaks my heart to think about the situation that so many people will be in or are in. And God, if there are other installations where it's not being handled this way, please put it in the comments below for other people to see, so that they know that there is some hope there. That's it. Again, guys, please, like, comment, share, especially with people who you think may find this information helpful but will never go and, talk to anybody. They can watch a YouTube video privately. And that's it. Tomorrow, I'm going to kind of get off this subject for a few days, because it's just too emotional to constantly be talking about. So tomorrow I'm either going to do I think I'm going to do a closet tour actually, or maybe a fall lookbook. I'm not really sure. And then later this week or on Monday, I'm going to shoot a vegan meal prep. So I'm going to show you, kind of how I get all of my meals ready for the week. And I hope to see you again tomorrow. Bye guys. Love you.